every thought in your mind, when you're not aware of it as a thought, has a sense of self in it, a sense of I am. You identify with the movement of thought. And that is the essence of unconscious living. And that is why people continuously live for the future. The thought form of future where they are hoping to complete their insufficient sense of self. The happy ending of my story. This is not to say you should not pursue certain activities, learn new things, explore new countries, meet new people, learn this and that, acquire knowledge, expertise here and there, develop your abilities, physical or mental, and create whatever you are called upon to create in this world. It is beautiful to create in this world. And on that level, of course, there is always more that you could do. And as you grow older, there are certain things that you can no longer do. So gradually, on the level of form, your life becomes reduced. There are already many, many things that it is unlikely that I will be able to do. I'm not going to win the title at Wimbledon anymore. It would be a miracle if I managed to do that. Not totally impossible, but I'm not even going to try it. And many other things would say, well, it's too late. And this is true. It's for many things, it's too late. On the level of form, I need to accept, yes, no, I'm not going to be the heavyweight boxing champion. It's just too late for that, or it never was possible. So on the level of form, yes, depending on where you are in years, there may still be many things that you can add to what you can do and what you know and what you explore. Or it may be that you're reaching the end of the lifespan of this form, so there's little time left and there isn't that much more that you can add to yourself. And that's fine too. Now the question is, are you looking for yourself when you attempt to add more to who you are? And that is the dilemma of human existence. There is a compulsive searching for more. Not that there's anything wrong with doing new things. No. But there is a compulsive striving towards the next moment and the next and the next, hoping to add more to who I think I am. Thought forms. Possessions, attainments, recognition by other people, all thought forms. I have not enough yet, I don't feel secure enough, I only have 5 houses and 3 cars, and I still don't feel secure. And I think the houses are not big enough. That must be the reason. Or they write about me in the papers and then, okay, by the way, I don't have 5 houses, it's just an example. Or to get recognition, they all write about me, and then I read in the papers, and finally people have recognized who I am. They think I'm great. And that temporarily gives you the feeling of I have now added that universal recognition to who I think I am. And many people strive for that, to think, when are they going to discover me? When are they going to realize that I am special? they may never realize it. There is a search for specialness in the mind-made sense of self that in some cases is fulfilled and in most cases is not fulfilled on the level where it's seeking. And so in either case, that sense of specialness, you could say, there are two ways of being unhappy: not getting what you want and getting what you want. Because all the people who have attained universal recognition in whatever field, they are not happy either. They are not at peace with themselves. They do not feel the sense of security and the sense of finally having arrived that before they had it, they had associated with that idea. Once people recognize me, then I will have arrived. And then the moment comes, and at first it feels good, and then you see that people's opinion of you are only thought forms. They are images that they create, or if they are very well known, the media creates a fiction that has your name. And then you read about yourself in the paper and you see, who is this? They're writing about, there's nothing to do with me at all. And so many people become unhappy, even more unhappy when they attain recognition. The world tells them, yes, you are special, and yet I don't feel special. Or they see this is an illusion, that's not me, it's an image, a mind-created image. And a few people then go beyond all the mind-created sense of identity because they have attained what the world tells us is desirable: wealth, property, recognition, attainment here or there, and yet it has not provided them with what they were really looking for: myself, a sense of being rooted in life. The fullness of life, as Jesus calls it, the fullness of life. And so there are many famous people who take drugs and they need to dull the dreadful unhappiness they feel inside, because even the illusion of more in the future that most people are still living by doesn't work anymore. Because if you already have everything, the illusion that the more, by attaining more in the future, you're going to be happy, doesn't work anymore for you. What a dreadful fate. You can't look to the more anymore to feel that you are yourself. And so they feel even more unhappy. They cannot escape into the next moment anymore. So they need to take some drugs so that for a little while I feel better. And then, or a few break through to a deeper level within themselves. And realize that that sense of specialness that operated on the level of better than or more than was an illusion. You can pursue it and it will take you nowhere. It can never fulfill itself because it is a thought form, me, the special one, that you wanted to incorporate into the story of me. That is the basis of your identity as long as you are trapped only in thought. Me, the special one. Some people have the fiction in their head that they are, I don't want to take, by the way, away anybody's fiction if they still like it. You could have the fiction in their head that in a past lifetime you were Napoleon. And that can give you a sense of specialness, but it is derived from the movement of thought and images. But that keeps some people going. Nobody might agree with you that you were Napoleon, but at least temporarily it keeps you, okay, but you have to keep thinking about it and tell the story to others. And others have other stories where other people say, yeah, that's true, that's who you are. But it is based on the movement of thought and the emotions that go with those thoughts. So you have a whole identity based on a personal history. Very little. And it's not going to last for very long. The soap bubble of my personal history is going to pop soon. And everybody can say, I'm not predicting my imminent death, nobody knows. But everybody's death is ultimately imminent, because 1 year or 50 years, it comes quite soon. And it'll be now when it comes, not tomorrow. And so to be trapped in that sense of self, a conceptual reality, that is a dreadful fate. It's constant neediness, which even gets translated into the spiritual. Once you have realized, okay, I'm done with possessions, I know that that's not it. But be careful here with other thought forms that arise to replace. For example, you might have spent 20 years of your life making money, and then you see, okay, I'm now giving away my BMW, I'm going to buy a bicycle because I'm spiritual. And I will only wear certain spiritual clothes or this or that, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm on my bicycle, and then I can be on my bicycle and look at the person who is still so unconscious that he's driving his BMW and can think how much superior I am in my spiritual. And of course what you're carrying now is a much heavier thought form than the BMW thought form. So your sense of self has become, it's quite possible that the BMW man has less of a sense of self than the man on the bicycle. It's possible, probably not, but it's possible. So be careful with how the mind shifts and then chooses another story to feel, but always to make itself feel more than in one way or another, so that it works through comparison, because it's thought. I have an image of who I am, and then I need to compare that to who I think other people are. So I impose images on myself, mental concepts, and impose them on others, and then I compare my image with that image. Okay, so I'm more spiritual than this. Or he's more spiritual, he's been at it for much longer than me. And then you go, how much you know. Knowledge is another one. You casually mention from your great store of knowledge, you casually mention a few things, and the other person is dumbfounded, doesn't know what you... And it's obvious that you know more than he. And that gives a feeling of, And so it works with little things to enhance its always very precarious sense of self. And then it loves being right. It loves others to be wrong, because it's the only way you can be right. It loves being right and feels itself enhanced momentarily through, I'm right. So it's always the strengthening of the fiction of self, the fiction of me and my story. And that people go through life looking for that. That's the purpose of their life, is to strengthen the fiction of me. And so that becomes the motivating force behind their actions, what they do. And it's always it's an uneasy thing, because very often you feel less than somebody else. And then you have to kind of work around that. Less special than he. He knows more, but on the other hand, I look better. And then other people, if they cannot achieve the specialness in the way in which the world tells us you ought to be special, they achieve a reverse specialness by feeling unfairly treated by life, by feeling that they are a victim of certain people or situations, and in their thought form of being a victim, they feel very special. So you can still win, even if you lose. The mind is very clever. And a victim identity can be very strongly lodged in some people's minds. And as soon as you meet them, and after 5 minutes, they will tell you their story. You know what happened to me. 25 years ago it happened. And of course, yes, dreadful things did happen 25 years ago, and they happen today also in this mad world. But building an identity around some form of suffering that happened at some point or repeatedly in this mad world where suffering is inevitable, to build a sense of specialness around that, then you have put yourself into a dreadful prison with bars all around. But at least you think you know who you are. You have a story. Oh, great, at least I have a story. My life treated me more unfairly than most people. I can feel more then. And so whatever the mind, it will find something to give itself an identity, a conceptual identity, and it is very much afraid of losing the story, of abandoning it, stepping beyond it. And usually the story needs to become unpleasant for people to be pushed out of it. It's because in a way the story is a dream. The dream of who I am. And if a dream becomes very unpleasant, then you will want to wake up. If no dream of me is ultimately all that pleasant, but some are more unpleasant than others. So see how the self, the conceptual self, continuously tries to survive, not only to survive and protect itself from others, and to use others to enhance itself, use them in one way or another. And that determines the relationship between humans. When you haven't stepped beyond that, there is wanting to use another human or feeling you need to protect yourself from another human being. Those are the two things that govern relationships in the egoic state. You either use them or you fear them. You need them and you're afraid of them, and sometimes both at the same time. And of course that also means there is no true relationship. It gets distorted because you don't know who you are. You have only an image in the head that tries to make itself stronger because it doesn't feel enough yet. I'm not enough yet. And so for some people the sense of specialness is attained by frequent complaining in the head and out aloud about life and situations and people and what's going on, and it really shouldn't be happening. they should do something about it. It's all very bad indeed. Why doesn't he? And there's blaming, continuously complaining and blaming, and that the ego loves because it makes itself right by doing that. When you complain about something or somebody, you feel you are right and the person or the situation you complain about is wrong. I'm not saying complain in a practical sense where you say, I'd like to exchange this thing that I bought because it's not working. That's fine. It's practical and you do something about it. But the complaining, that is the telling of stories in the head that has no practical purpose whatsoever, that constantly is in a conflict relationship with the present moment. There's always something about it that isn't right, and so you complain. Or something has just happened and you complain, or you complain because it hasn't happened yet. So many people feel they cannot be themselves or truly at peace with themselves because of something that happened or something that hasn't happened. Those are the two reasons why you cannot be yourself. Either something has happened and that's preventing me from being myself truly, or something hasn't happened yet. And if that doesn't happen, I can't be myself. Isn't that it's a strange thing? I need something to happen so that I can be myself. So we are not, all the many ways we are talking about this here so that you can recognize it when it happens in you, because it is a universal pattern in every human. It's inherited. It is the collective human mind in its egoic, unconscious state that operates in that way, that keeps you trapped on the surface of your being, on the little surface movement, the wave movement of life, the forms of life, all the things that happen, and you're trapped in that on the level of form, and of course on the level of form, which includes even thought forms, that are primordial forms. When you are identified with every thought that comes into your head, and of course there's never an end to it, because the next thought comes immediately afterwards. It's a string. And so it goes the whole day long. It'll go. And occasionally you get the little glimpses that keep you sane, so that you can still survive here. They keep you from committing suicide, or they keep you from going totally insane. You have little moments of. And they may be short, but they keep you alive. There is a little bit of joy seeping through from the depths of your being, through the layers, the heavy layers of mind. There's a little crack appears here and there. If it didn't, you would be totally lost in here, and you certainly wouldn't be sitting here. And so occasionally there's moments, it may be when there's sudden beauty, and it's overwhelming, or a moment of danger that wakes you up out of the continuous voice in the head. Oh. And suddenly there's more intense aliveness, beingness, presence. And then thought comes back. Or it could be, for some people, danger in the form of a physical illness can come, and suddenly that wakes you up. Oh. And suddenly you realize all the things that you pursued and you thought were important are not important at all. So already something collapses on the level of thought. All the things that mattered so much, and suddenly you develop a physical illness and see it doesn't matter at all. And so that can be helpful for some. It can be an awakening for some people. Or it may be some people are kept sane by an animal. Because whenever, it's the only way they can relate to another being that is non-conceptual, because when they meet humans, they are trapped in the concepts that they have about every human they meet. They impose mental concepts and images in the form of what they think about. They know exactly what they think about you. They're not relating to you, they're relating to the thoughts in their head they have about you. And most people do it to each other. So you have only two thought-made entities trying to be in a relationship. Each one both needing and fearing the other. And this is, of course, why relationships are so problematic these days. So some people are kept sane by an animal, and that the pets fulfill an incredible function that hasn't been fully acknowledged and recognized in this world. They keep humanity sane. Because there you have, when you touch the dog or the cat, whatever it is, and for a moment you're not, some people even there they carry ego, but those are the extreme cases. You touch the animal and you can be yourself. You don't need to psychologically protect yourself from the animal or want something from, you just can be with that, and you can, something transmits itself because the animal lives more deeply connected with the source of life than most humans. Less removed, or one could say the illusion has not grown to such an extent of being a separate entity, a me, and the rest of the universe. The animal still has the oneness with the totality, hasn't lost it totally, is deeply rooted in being. So the animal does not create a world of problems. The animal is one with life. And humans have separated themselves from life. They have a conceptual image. This is me, and there's the rest of the world. There's a barrier. And there's the other human being. A dreadful concept, other. And then needing others and fearing others, walking through life there. And other is another concept. So the egoic self, the stronger you are trapped in the egoic sense of self, the more you will emphasize the otherness of others. And others will all have become reduced to walking caricatures, because the few labels that you have about them, you reduce them. And they're basically all caricatures. And sometimes when you listen to people, they mention about somebody they met or somebody they know and see how stupid that person is, and they have a few judgments. And when you listen to that, you see this caricature of this strange, distorted human being. And when you meet them, you say, this is the person you were talking about? Yeah. And so the animal is not burdened by the continuous stream of thinking. It does not have a conceptual identity like the humans. So it hasn't separated itself. So it can be an access point for some humans into being, where they can be with a being without, and it is, for some humans, it's the moment when they actually, thought subsides, when they pat their dog, or you have a purring cat on your chest. Suddenly you think, thought becomes more quiet, and you have a space of stillness. And you feel the purring of a cat on your chest. Or simply to watch an animal can be, if you can truly watch, it can take you out of your mind and you become present, because the animal is present. And the same with the realm of nature, the trees and the flowers and the blades of grass. They are all present. They are all surrendered to life, one with life, a beautiful temporary expression of the one life. And so, for some humans, that's their only access point, and for some, even that doesn't work anymore. I knew someone with a very strong ego who had ego battles with her cat. If the cat didn't come, she had the kitchen window open, and the cat one evening didn't appear, and she was, "Where's my cat?" And then she would shut the window and said, if she doesn't want to see me, I don't want to see her. And so the poor cat had to stay outside all night. That also happens, so there are cases where humans cannot even relate to animals anymore. So this is where and so we see millions and millions of humans living in a pseudo-reality, with a sense of self that is ultimately a fiction, that is always insufficient, always feeling a sense of lack, always needing more, always even needing to make enemies so that it can still define itself as me and the other, needing some kind of conflict so that its separate sense of self can remain intact. What can I be in conflict with today? What can I complain about now so that I can feel a little bit more myself? Ah, there it is. And so when millions of humans live like that, then the result is what we read as human history, a dreadful tale of incredible suffering that humans inflict on each other and other life forms on the planet. Incredible suffering. And so the same you see on television tonight. When you switch on the news, you will see just how mad the collective consciousness is of humanity in its present evolutionary stage. And yet, here we are. Here we are, and we recognize that all that is a form of, one could say, collective mental illness that humanity is suffering from.